Hey everyone. Get cozy, settle into a comfy position, and let these calming tales whisk you away to a peaceful night's sleep. Drop a comment below on what time and from where you are watching this video and share your own late-night ritual that helps you drift off. In a quaint alley where ivy clings to weathered brick walls and the scent of rain lingers on cobblestones, the Twilight Brew tea shop glows softly, its stained glass windows casting kaleidoscopic patterns of emerald and amber onto the street. Open until midnight in the warm summer of 2025, it's a refuge for those seeking calm amidst the city's relentless pulse. Run by 39-year-old May, a tea enthusiast with a gentle smile and a knack for blending custom brews, the shop is a cozy haven. Inside, polished wooden tables are adorned with delicate lace doilies, their edges frayed from years of use. Shelves line the walls, holding glass jars of loose-leaf teas, jasmine pearls, smoky oolong, soothing chamomile, each labeled in May's meticulous calligraphy. The air is rich with the aroma of steeping herbs, warm cranberry scones baked fresh each evening, and a faint trace of honey from a jar on the counter. Paper lanterns dangle from the exposed ceiling beams, their soft light mingling with the flicker of a small stone fireplace tucked in a corner. A chalkboard by the counter lists daily specials like Moonlit Mint or Lavender Dream, alongside a prompt. Write a memory a tea reminds you of. Customers scribble responses in pastel chalk. Earl Grey equals rainy afternoons with my sister, or Rooibos equals late night talks with dad. A nook with velvet cushions in deep indigo, a low bookshelf stuffed with poetry collections, and a woven rug invites lingering, while a small bamboo table holds a guest book filled with notes like, "This place feels like a deep breath." One humid evening in June 2025, a young coder named Priya slips through the door, her laptop bag heavy and her eyes shadowed from a long day debugging code for a fintech startup. At 25, she's navigating a high-pressure job, her creativity stifled by endless algorithms and client demands. May, pouring a steaming pot of rose-infused green tea, notices Priya's slumped posture as she lingers near a shelf of herbal blends. May offers her a cup of chamomile lavender tea, its floral aroma rising in delicate curls. "This soothes the soul," she says, her voice as warm as the tea, her braided hair catching the lantern light. Priya sips, the warmth loosening the knot in her chest, and they chat about her neglected hobby of writing poetry, something she used to do in college but abandoned under work's weight. The shop's calm, with its soft clink of porcelain cups and the fireplace's gentle crackle, feels like permission to breathe, and Priya pulls out a worn notebook, jotting a few tentative lines. Priya becomes a regular, visiting after work to sip tea and write poetry in the nook, her laptop forgotten in favor of pen and paper. She meets other late-night patrons. Sam, a 30-year-old bartender with a sketchpad full of charcoal portraits. Lila, a 67-year-old retiree who journals about her youth in a spiral notebook, and Ezra, a 22-year-old student studying herbalism who dreams of blending his own teas. They form a quiet community, bonding over steaming mugs and shared stories. Priya's hope to publish a poetry chapbook, Sam's wish to exhibit his art at a local gallery, Lila's vivid tales of dancing at jazz clubs in the 70s, Ezra's plan to start a rooftop tea garden. May hosts a Tea and Tales night, where patrons share stories or poems paired with a tea blend. Priya, her hands trembling, reads a poem about code weaving into constellations, her voice steadying as the room listens. The group claps softly, their faces glowing in the lantern light, and Sam sketches a quick portrait of Priya reading, gifting it to her. May pins Priya's poem to the chalkboard, next to a note about jasmine tea evoking summer evenings. As Priya leaves, the city's humid air feels lighter, and the tea's warmth lingers in her chest, guiding her toward dreams of new verses under starlit skies. On a quiet street lined with shuttered storefronts and the faint hum of distant traffic, Cycle Haven stays open until 11 p.m., its neon bike sign buzzing faintly, casting a blue-green glow across the pavement. Run by 34-year-old Javier, a mechanic with grease-stained hands and a quiet passion for bikes, the shop is a 2025 sanctuary for cyclists, tinkerers, and dreamers. The space is a cluttered symphony of tools, wrenches scattered on workbenches, tire pumps leaning against walls, and bikes hanging on racks, their frames gleaming under strings of Edison bulb lights. The air smells of rubber tires, chain oil, and the bitter tang of coffee brewing in a battered pot Javier keeps on a shelf. A workbench in the center holds a half-repaired vintage cruiser, its chrome handlebars catching the light, while a corkboard on the wall displays Polaroids of customers' bikes, from sleek road bikes to battered commuters, each with a handwritten caption like, "Maria's Daily Ride," or "Fixed for Free." A sign above the counter reads, "Fix your ride, share your road story," inviting patrons to pin up tales of their cycling adventures. One cool evening in June 2025, a delivery rider named Aisha rolls in, her bike's chain rattling with every turn of the pedals. At 28, she's pedaling through long shifts to save for art school, but the grind leaves her feeling trapped, her sketchbook untouched for weeks. Javier, tightening a bolt on a mountain bike, notices her frustration as she props her bike against a rack. He offers to fix the chain and hands her a chipped mug of coffee, its warmth seeping through her fingers. "This bike's got stories," he says, his eyes crinkling with a smile, sparking a conversation about her sketches of city streets seen from her saddle. Aisha stays, drawn to the shop's warmth, the rhythmic clank of tools and Javier's easygoing chatter about his own rides through the city's parks. Aisha starts visiting nightly, sketching on a stool while Javier works, her pencil capturing the curves of bike frames or the texture of a worn tire. She meets regulars. Marco, a courier who dreams of competing in a national cycling race, Miss Patel, a teacher who bikes to her school each morning, and Mr. Chin, a retiree who restores old bikes to donate to kids. They share tales over coffee, Aisha's hope to study painting at art school, Marco's grueling training regimen, Miss Patel's love for coastal rides along the city's waterfront, Mr. Chen's memories of teaching his daughter to ride in the 80s. Javier hosts a bike art night, where patrons display creations inspired by cycling. Aisha, her heart racing, shares a series of sketches depicting bikes in motion, their wheels blurring against city backdrops. The crowd cheers and Marco offers to collaborate on a mural for the shop. Javier hangs one of Aisha's sketches, a vibrant drawing of a bike under a streetlight, next to the corkboard, calling it "the spirit of the road." As Aisha pedals home, the city's lights blur into streaks, and the shop's glow carries her toward dreams of vibrant canvases and open roads. In a bustling district where neon signs flicker out early, Melody Haven glows until midnight, its wide window displaying a curated collection of guitars, ukuleles, and vinyl records under warm spotlights. Run by 41-year-old Clara, a former folk musician with silver-streaked hair and a love for vintage tunes, the shop is a 2025 refuge for music lovers. Shelves brim with records, jazz, rock, classical, and stacks of yellowed sheet music, while instruments line the walls. A polished acoustic guitar, a mandolin with intricate inlays, a violin with a worn case. The air smells of polished wood, vinyl dust, and a faint trace of lemon oil used to clean the instruments. A turntable in the corner spins a soft jazz record, Miles Davis's trumpet weaving through the space, and a small stage with a single stool hosts impromptu performances. Clara, strumming a guitar with calloused fingers, greets customers with a nod, her presence as inviting as the shop's warmth. A pegboard by the counter invites patrons to name a song that feels like home, with responses like "Hallelujah" by Leonard Cohen, or "Blue Moon at My Wedding" pinned in colorful notes. One rainy night in June 2025, a student named Leo enters, his headphones dangling around his neck and his backpack damp from the drizzle. At 21, he's studying music theory but struggles with stage fright, his dream of performing original songs paralyzed by fear of judgment. Clara, tuning a ukulele with precise twists, notices his hesitation near a display of acoustic guitars and suggests he try one. "It's like singing to a friend," she says, handing him the ukulele, its wood warm under his fingers. Leo strums a few chords, his nerves easing, and they talk about his dream to perform at open mics, a goal he's avoided for months. Leo becomes a regular, visiting after classes to jam or browse records, the shop's cozy hum a balm for his anxiety. He meets patrons: Zara, a DJ who mixes electronic beats, Miss Kim, a librarian who plays flute in a community band, and Diego, a chef who collects rare vinyl from the 60s. They share goals over shared records: Leo's hope to conquer his stage fright, Zara's project to release a mixtape, Ms. Kim's dream to teach music to kids, Diego's stories of cooking to Motown. Clara hosts a music night, where patrons perform or share songs. Leo, his palms sweaty, plays a folk song he wrote about chasing dreams under moonlight. The applause is warm, lifting his spirits, and Zara offers to produce a demo for him. Clara hangs his sheet music on the pegboard, next to a note about summertime. As Leo leaves, the rain has stopped, the city's noise fades, and the shop's melody lulls him toward dreams of stages and songs, his heart lighter than before. Nestled in a crooked alley where gas lamps flicker and old stone walls hold the city's secrets, the Firefly bookbindery glows softly, its frosted glass door etched with a delicate quill and open book, condensation beating on the glass in the humid June air of 2025. Open until 11 p.m., it's a haven for those who cherish the tactile magic of handbound books, a refuge from the digital clamor of the city. Run by 44-year-old Elias, a bookbinder with ink-stained fingers, wire-rimmed glasses, and a quiet passion for preserving stories, the shop is a sanctuary of craft. Inside, sturdy wooden tables are strewn with scraps of buttery leather, spools of linen thread in muted colors, and gold foil embossing tools, their handles worn smooth by years of careful work. Shelves line the walls, holding handbound journals with embossed covers, restored novels with gilt edges, and sketchbooks with marbled end papers and swirls of indigo and gold, each a small work of art. The air is rich with the scent of aged leather, beeswax polish, and the faint citrus tang of bookbinding glue, mingling with the soothing aroma of mint tea brewing in a copper kettle on a wrought iron stand. Edison bulbs dangle from the exposed brick ceiling, casting a warm amber glow that dances on the polished oak floor. A chalkboard near the door invites patrons to share a story you'd bind forever, its surface crowded with notes in looping handwriting, Pride and Prejudice for its wit, My Travel Journal from '99, or The Alchemist Changed My Life. A cozy nook beckons with a velvet armchair in deep forest green, a patchwork quilt draped over its back, and a low table stacked with poetry chapbooks and literary zines. A leather-bound guest book on a carved podium holds musings like, This Place Stitches My Soul Back Together, or Found a Book That Feels Like Me. One sultry evening in June 2025, a young illustrator named Sophia slips inside, her canvas tote bag bulging with sketch pads and her eyes shadowed from late-night freelance deadlines. At 27, she's juggling commissions for children's books, but her creativity feels stifled by clients demanding safe designs, leaving her whimsical ideas unsketched. Elias, stitching a leather journal with precise needlework, his apron dusted with bookbinding flour, notices her lingering near a display of hand-bound sketchbooks, her fingers tracing their embossed covers. He offers her a steaming cup of mint tea, its aroma bright and grounding. This clears the mind, he says, his voice steady as the shop's calm, his glasses slipping slightly as he smiles. Sophia sips, and they talk about her love for illustrating fairy tale characters. Dragons, enchanted forests, starry skies, a passion dulled by corporate revisions. The shop's quiet hum, with the soft clink of tools, the rustle of paper, and the faint creak of the floorboards, soothes her, and she pulls out her sketch pad, drawing a tiny dragon curled around a book. Sophia becomes a regular, visiting after work to sketch or learn bookbinding from Elias, who teaches her to sew signatures and emboss leather. She meets other patrons. Nora, a 31-year-old poet who binds her verses into slim chapbooks. Mr. Sato, a 70-year-old retiree restoring travelogues from his backpacking days, and Lila, a 35-year-old teacher crafting journals for her middle school students. They bond over tea in mismatched mugs, sharing dreams. Sophia's hope to publish a picture book of her own stories, Nora's wish to perform her poetry at a local festival, Mr. Sato's tales of exploring Asia in the 80s with just a rucksack, Lila's plan to start a writing club to inspire her students. Elias hosts a binding night, where everyone crafts a book to share. Sophia, her hands steady despite a flutter of nerves, presents a sketchbook filled with fairy tale drawings, its leather cover embossed with a crescent moon she pressed herself. The group claps softly, their faces glowing in the Edison light, and Nora offers to write a poem to pair with Sophia's next project, a story about a stargazing dragon. Elias hangs the sketchbook on a shop wall, next to a restored copy of The Little Prince, its spine gleaming, and calls it a story in itself. As Sophia leaves, the alley's shadows soften under the gas lamps, and the bindery's warmth lingers in her chest, guiding her toward dreams of enchanted forests and inked pages waiting to be bound. Along the city's riverfront, where the water glints under sodium streetlights and willow trees sway in the gentle June breeze of 2025, River Clay Studio stays open until 10 p.m., its wide, slightly warped windows glowing with the soft light of creation. Run by 37-year-old Elara, a potter with clay-dusted hands, a faded denim apron, and a love for shaping earth into art, the studio is a haven for creators seeking solace in craft. The space is alive with the rhythmic hum of pottery wheels, their surfaces slick with wet clay, and shelves lined with glazed pieces, mugs with speckled cobalt finishes, vases with sage-green drips, bowls etched with delicate leaf patterns. The air smells of damp earth, the warm stone of a kiln humming in the back, and the faint sweetness of jasmine incense burning in a ceramic holder Elara made herself. Fairy lights loop around exposed wooden beams, their glow reflecting off the studio's scuffed concrete floor. A cluttered workbench holds tools, sponges, wooden ribs, wire cutters, scattered like a painter's palette, while a corkboard on the wall displays photos of finished pieces, from delicate teacups to sculptural vases, each tagged with the artist's name and a brief note like "For my mom" or "First try." A sign above the workbench reads, "Shape your clay, share your story," inviting patrons to pin up tales of their creations, written on scraps of paper. "This mug holds my morning peace," or "Made a vase for my sister's wedding." One breezy evening in June 2025, a barista named Theo wanders in, his apron still loosely tied, its edges stained with espresso, his shoulders tense from a double shift at a bustling downtown cafe. At 24, he's studying ceramics part-time at a community college, but his work feels uninspired, overshadowed by the polished perfection he scrolls through on social media. Elara, glazing a wide bowl with steady, practiced strokes, notices his hesitation as he hovers near a pottery wheel, his fingers brushing its edge. She invites him to try throwing a simple cup, wiping clay from her hands. "Let the clay guide you," she says, her voice as calm as the river lapping outside, her braided hair flecked with specks of dried clay. Theo sits at the wheel, the clay cool and pliable under his fingers, and they chat about his dream to create pieces that feel alive, not just Instagram-worthy. The studio's warmth, with its soft whir of wheels, the faint crackle of the kiln, and the jasmine haze, eases his stress, and he shapes a wobbly but earnest cup. Theo becomes a regular, visiting after shifts to throw pots or glaze mugs, learning from Amara's patient tips on centering clay or blending glazes. He meets other creators, Kai, a 29-year-old florist who sculpts vases inspired by peonies and roses, Ms. Rosa, a 65-year-old retiree crafting bowls for her grandkids' cereal mornings, and Ezra, a 22-year-old student experimenting with abstract, asymmetrical forms. They share stories over jasmine tea served in Amara's handmade mugs, Theo's hope to sell his work at a local craft market, Kai's dream of opening a flower pottery shop, Ms. Rosa's memories of molding clay with her mother in a rural village, Ezra's plan to teach ceramics to teens. Elara hosts a clay showcase, where everyone displays a piece. Theo, his heart racing, shows a mug with a river-inspired glaze, its blues and greens swirling like water under moonlight. The group claps, their smiles bright in the fairy light, and Kai offers to pair the mug with a bouquet for the market. Elara hangs the mug on a shelf next to a sculptural vase, calling it the river's heart. As Theo walks along the riverfront, the city's lights dance on the water, and the studio's calm carries him toward dreams of flowing clay, smooth glazes, and new shapes waiting to be spun. In a vibrant night market where paper lanterns sway on strings and the scent of grilled skewers and fried dough wafts through the humid air of June 2025, Starry Bites is a small food stall open until midnight, its striped canopy strung with fairy lights that twinkle like fireflies. Run by 32-year-old Lila, a cook with a flair for global flavors and a quick, infectious laugh, the stall serves steaming bowls of noodle soup, crispy dumplings and sticky rice rolls. The counter is a colorful chaos of bamboo steamers, glass jars of chili oil and pickled radish, and bundles of fresh herbs, cilantro, Thai basil, mint, their green tips glowing under the lights. The air is thick with the zing of ginger, the nutty warmth of sesame oil, and the sizzle of garlic hitting a hot wok, blending with the market's lively buzz of vendors calling and shoppers haggling. Lila, with her cropped hair, a red bandana, and quick hands, chats with customers as she ladles broth, her silver hoop earrings glinting. A chalkboard menu lists specials like miso moon soup or spicy star dumplings, alongside a prompt, share a food memory. Notes pinned beneath read, Grandma's borscht on winter nights, or street tacos in Mexico City 2018. One humid night, a writer named Maya stops by, her notebook tucked under her arm, her mind foggy from a stalled novel about a chef's journey across continents. At 29, she's battling writer's block, her story's flavors feeling flat and forced. Lila, ladling a fragrant bowl of lemongrass noodle broth, notices Maya's tired expression and offers her the dish, garnished with a sprig of cilantro. "This wakes the heart," she says, her voice as warm as the steam rising from the bowl. Maya sips, the broth's tang sparking memories of her grandmother's cooking, and they talk about her novel, the stall's warmth cutting through her creative haze. The market's hum, vendors shouting, lanterns swaying, the clink of coins, feels like a living story, and Maya jots a few lines in her notebook. Maya visits nightly, scribbling scenes while savoring Lila's dishes, her pen capturing the market's pulse. She meets regulars, Diego, a 26-year-old musician who loves spicy dumplings and busks nearby, Miss Chin, a 68-year-old retiree who shares tales of family feasts in her childhood village, and Zara, a 23-year-old student crafting food blogs for her media class. They bond over shared chopsticks and stories. Maya's dream to finish her novel, Diego's hope to busk full-time at the market, Miss Chen's memories of making dumplings with her sisters, Zara's plan to launch a food vlog on YouTube. Lila hosts a flavor night, where patrons share recipes or stories inspired by food. Maya, her voice steady despite a flutter of nerves, reads a chapter about her chef character tasting a life-changing soup. The crowd cheers, their faces lit by lantern light, and Diego plays a lively guitar tune to match the scene's energy. Lila pins Maya's page to the chalkboard, next to a note about wontons and childhood. As Maya leaves, weaving through the market's bustle, the stall's glow lingers in her chest, guiding her toward dreams of simmering pots, far-off markets, and new chapters waiting to be written. Nestled in a narrow street where old brick buildings lean close, their facades weathered by decades of city rain, the Lantern Nook is a tiny library that stays open until midnight, its frosted windows glowing like soft beacons in the 2025 urban sprawl. Run by 42-year-old Miriam, a former English teacher with a warm laugh and a knack for recommending the perfect book, the library is a haven for those seeking solace in stories. The space is small but inviting, its tall oak shelves crammed with novels, biographies, and poetry collections, their spines softened by years of loving hands. The air carries the comforting scent of aged paper, polished cedar, and a hint of chamomile from a chipped porcelain kettle Miriam keeps brewing on a side table. Fairy lights drape across the exposed ceiling beams, casting a golden glow, and a chalkboard near the entrance invites visitors to jot down a favorite quote or book title in colorful chalk. Scrawled messages like "To Kill a Mockingbird Taught Me Justice," or "The Hobbit is My Escape" cover the board, creating a tapestry of shared thoughts. In the corner, a nook with overstuffed armchairs, a woven Persian rug, and a low table stacked with literary magazines beckons readers to linger. A leather-bound guest book sits open, filled with notes like "Found myself in a book tonight," or "This place feels like a hug." One crisp evening in June 2025, a young woman named Zara slips inside, her wool scarf trailing and her eyes heavy from a 10-hour shift at a call center. At 26, she's studying part-time for a literature degree, but the grind of answering endless customer complaints leaves her mind foggy and her spirit drained. Miriam, shelving a stack of novels with a quiet hum of an old folk tune, notices Zara's hesitant browsing near the poetry section and approaches with a worn copy of The Secret Garden. "This one's like a warm hug," she says, her voice as soft as the library's glow, her silver earrings catching the light. Zara, unsure but intrigued, takes the book and sinks into an armchair, its faded green upholstery creaking under her weight. As she reads, the story's gentle magic eases her tension, the library's quiet wrapping around her like a blanket. Zara becomes a regular, visiting after work to read or study in the library's serene embrace. She meets other late-night patrons. Theo, a 24-year-old barista with a sleeve of tattoos who devours sci-fi novels. Mr. Henry, a retired carpenter with calloused hands who reads historical fiction about the Industrial Revolution. And Lena, a single mom in her 30s who escapes into romance novels while her kids sleep at home. They form a quiet bond, sharing book recommendations over mugs of chamomile tea and snippets of their lives. Zara talks about her dream of teaching literature to high schoolers. Theo shares his hope of opening a sci-fi-themed cafe with a reading nook. Mr. Henry recounts crafting oak furniture in the 90s. Lena confesses she's secretly writing a romance novel inspired by her late-night reads. One night, Miriam hosts a story swap, where visitors bring a book or write a short tale to share. Zara, her stomach fluttering, reads a poem she wrote about finding refuge in words, her voice trembling but growing stronger with each line. The group listens, nodding, and Theo sketches a spaceship inspired by her imagery, its lines bold and futuristic. Miriam pins Zara's poem to the chalkboard, next to a quote from Jane Eyre about courage, and the group claps softly, their warmth filling the small space. As Zara leaves, the city's chill feels softer, the library's glow lingering in her chest. She clutches her borrowed book, its pages whispering promises of restful dreams, and walks home under a sky dusted with stars. In a tucked-away corner of a bustling 2025 city, where cobblestone streets wind past ivy-draped buildings and the faint hum of evening traffic fades into a soft murmur, the moonlit apothecary glows softly, its leaded glass windows casting a mosaic of amber, emerald, and sapphire light onto the uneven pavement. Open until midnight in the balmy summer of 2025, this small shop is a haven for those seeking remedies for both body and soul, a sanctuary from the digital buzz and neon glare of the urban sprawl. Run by 38-year-old Nora, an herbalist with a gentle voice, a silver braid woven with a sprig of dried lavender, and a knack for crafting soothing balms and teas, the apothecary feels like a step back in time. Inside, weathered wooden shelves line the walls, holding rows of glass jars filled with dried herbs, lavender buds, chamomile flowers, peppermint leaves, rose hips, their labels handwritten in Nora's looping ink-blue script. The air is thick with the earthy scent of rosemary, the sweet tang of dried citrus peels, and the faint, grounding smoke of a sandalwood candle flickering in a hand-forged iron holder. Bundles of sage, thyme, and lemon balm hang from the exposed ceiling beams, swaying gently in the breeze from an open window. A small counter, its oak surface polished to a warm sheen, holds a granite mortar and pestle, a brass apothecary scale with tiny weights, and a steaming copper kettle of rosehip tea, its ruby hue catching the light. Fairy lights weave through the rafters, their soft golden glow reflecting off the scuffed hardwood floor, where a faded Persian rug adds a touch of warmth. A chalkboard by the door invites patrons to share a remedy that heals you, its surface crowded with notes in colorful chalk. Chamomile tea for sleepless nights, honey and lemon for a sore throat, or sage smudge to clear my mind. A cozy nook beckons with a patchwork armchair in muted greens and blues, a knitted throw in soft wool draped over its back, and a low shelf stuffed with herbalism books, their spines cracked from years of study. A carved wooden stand holds an open guest book, its pages filled with musings like, "This place feels like a warm embrace," or "Found peace in a tea blend tonight." One humid evening in June 2025, a young nurse named Kai slips through the creaking door, his navy scrubs slightly wrinkled from a grueling 12-hour hospital shift, his eyes shadowed with fatigue and the weight of caring for patients in a bustling ER. At 26, he's navigating the emotional toll of his job, where long hours and heart-heavy moments leave him restless, unable to sleep despite his exhaustion. Nora, grinding lavender buds in the mortar with rhythmic, soothing motions, notices his hesitant browsing near a shelf of sleep aid blends, his fingers lingering on a jar of valerian root. She offers him a steaming ceramic mug of rosehip tea, its ruby hue glowing in a cup she crafted herself, its surface glazed with a delicate swirl of green. "This calms the heart," she says, her voice as soothing as the shop's ambience, her silver braid catching the fairy light as she leans forward. Kai sips, the tea's tart warmth loosening the knot in his chest, and they fall into a conversation about his love for gardening, a hobby he's neglected since starting night shifts. He mentions his grandmother's backyard herb garden, where he used to pick mint for tea as a child, a memory that feels distant now. The apothecary's quiet hum, the gentle clink of glass jars, the rustle of dried herbs as Nora sorts them, the faint bubble of the kettle, feels like a balm for his frayed nerves, and Kai pulls out a small notebook, jotting a note about his grandmother's mint tea recipe in the guest book, his handwriting shaky but deliberate. Kai becomes a regular, visiting after shifts to sip tea or learn about herbs from Nora, who teaches him to blend calming tinctures and press salves with beeswax and lavender oil. The shop becomes his refuge, its scents and sounds grounding him after chaotic days. He meets other late-night patrons. Lila, a 32-year-old writer who burns sage to clear her mind before drafting short stories. Mr. Chin, a 69-year-old retiree who swears by ginger tea for his aching joints and shares tales of foraging herbs in his rural hometown. And Ezra, a 24-year-old barista experimenting with herbal infusions for his cafe's menu, his apron often dusted with coffee grounds. They form a quiet community, bonding over mismatched mugs of tea and shared stories. Kai's dream to grow a medicinal herb garden behind his apartment, Lila's hope to write a novel about a wandering healer, Mr. Chen's memories of picking wild chamomile with his mother in the 60s, Ezra's plan to open a cafe specializing in herbal lattes and tisanes. The apothecary's warmth, with its flickering candles and soft fairy lights, fosters their connection, each conversation a thread weaving them closer. Nora hosts a remedy night, where everyone shares a homemade blend or a story about healing. Kai, his hand steady despite a flutter of nerves, presents a lavender mint salve he crafted for stress relief, its cool, soothing scent filling the shop as he explains how it calms his racing thoughts after a shift. The group nods approvingly, their faces glowing in the candlelight, and Lila offers to write a short story inspired by his salve, imagining a healer using it in a quiet village. Nora pins Kai's handwritten recipe to the chalkboard, next to a note about peppermint tea soothing winter evenings, and the group claps softly, their warmth wrapping around him like the knitted throw in the nook. As Kai leaves, stepping into the humid night air, the city's usual clamor feels softer, the cobblestones glistening under streetlights. The apothecary's glow lingers in his chest, a gentle weight that anchors him. He tucks his notebook under his arm, its pages holding not just a recipe but a spark of hope for his garden, and walks home, ready to drift into dreams of thriving herbs, healing hands, and quiet nights under a starlit sky. Tucked in a narrow street where old brick buildings lean close and the faint glow of streetlights filters through gnarled tree branches, the loom and thread-weaving loft glows softly, its tall windows casting a warm, honeyed light onto the cracked sidewalk. Open until 11 p.m. in the sultry summer of 2025, this small studio is a haven for those who find solace in the rhythmic clack of looms and the tactile beauty of woven fabric. Run by 40-year-old Celine, a weaver with calloused fingers, a cascade of dark curls tied with a cotton scarf, and a passion for crafting textiles that tell stories, the loft feels like a sanctuary from the city's digital buzz. Inside, wooden looms of varying sizes, some antique, their frames etched with decades of use, line the space, their shuttles poised mid-weave. Shelves brim with skeins of yarn in earthy hues of ochre, sage, and indigo, alongside bolts of hand-woven cloth with intricate patterns of stripes and chevrons. The air is rich with the scent of raw wool, the faint musk of natural dyes, and the warm, nutty aroma of chamomile tea brewing in a ceramic teapot Celine glazed herself. Fairy lights drape across exposed ceiling beams, their golden glow mingling with the flicker of beeswax candles set in mismatched holders on a long oak table. A chalkboard near the entrance invites patrons to share a thread that binds you, its surface crowded with notes in colorful chalk. Grandma's quilt keeps me warm, wove a scarf for my best friend, or linen feels like summer. A cozy nook with a worn leather armchair, a hand-woven throw in soft blues, and a basket of textile magazines beckons visitors to linger. A guest book on a spindly wooden stand holds musings like, "This place weaves my heart back together," or "Found peace in a warp and weft." One humid evening in June 2025, a young graphic designer named Ezra slips through the creaking door, his canvas messenger bag stuffed with sketchpads and his eyes heavy from staring at a screen all day. At 25, he's navigating a demanding job creating branding for startups, but the endless revisions and client demands have left his own creativity frayed, his once vivid designs now feeling flat. Celine, threading a loom with steady, practiced motions, notices his hesitant browsing near a shelf of hand-dyed yarns, his fingers brushing a skein of deep indigo. She offers him a steaming mug of chamomile tea, its floral warmth rising in curls from a mug with a woven texture pressed into its clay. "This steadies the hands," she says, her voice as soothing as the loft's ambience, her scarf slipping slightly as she smiles. Ezra sips, the tea's gentle warmth loosening the tension in his shoulders, and they talk about his love for sketching patterns inspired by nature. Leaves, waves, constellations, a passion he's neglected under work's weight. The loft's quiet rhythm, the soft clack of looms, the rustle of yarn, the faint hum of a ceiling fan, feels like a balm, and Ezra pulls out his sketchpad, drawing a swirling vine pattern inspired by the yarn's hues. Ezra becomes a regular, visiting after work to sketch or learn weaving from Celine, who teaches him to set up a simple loom and work a shuttle through the warp. The loft becomes his refuge, its scents and sounds grounding him after long days of pixel pushing. He meets other late-night patrons. Mira, a 33-year-old poet who weaves words into tapestries, Mr. Lee, a 72-year-old retiree crafting rugs for his grandchildren, and Lila, a 27-year-old teacher experimenting with woven bookmarks for her students. They form a quiet community, bonding over shared mugs of tea and stories. Ezra's dream to design textile patterns for a sustainable fashion brand, Myra's hope to exhibit her text-woven art, Mr. Lee's tales of weaving fishing nets in his coastal hometown in the 70s, Lila's plan to start a craft club at her school. The loft's warmth, with its flickering candles and fairy lights, fosters their connection, each conversation a thread weaving them closer. Celine hosts a weaving night, where everyone shares a woven piece or a story about craft. Ezra, his heart pounding but his hands steady, presents a small tapestry with a constellation pattern, its indigo threads shimmering under the light, woven with care over weeks. The group claps softly, their faces glowing in the candlelight, and Mira offers to write a poem to pair with his design, imagining stars woven into cloth. Celine pins Ezra's tapestry to a wall, next to a hand-woven rug with geometric swirls, and calls it a sky in threads. As Ezra leaves, stepping into the humid night air, the city's usual clamor feels softer, the streetlights casting a gentle glow on the cobblestones. He tucks his sketchpad under his arm, its pages holding not just a pattern but a spark of renewed creativity, and walks home, ready to drift into dreams of woven stars, flowing threads, and patterns yet to be sketched.